Welcome to Inside the Game, episode number 204. My name is Ryan Glinsky. Nate Wengler with us as well. His voice is a little bit worse than yesterday. So, Nate, I hope you're able to push through today.
Yeah, that's the plan at the moment. But thanks, Ryan. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting day, but a lot to talk on, especially in the soccer sphere, and obviously going into our all sports segment's gonna be interesting. So, a lot of good stuff to get to, a lot of good stuff to talk on.
Yeah, I guess we can take a little bit more breaks today, if necessary. But just some news here regarding us here at the. We'll get right into it here as we had some news regarding us at the National Soccer Network. We'll be hosting for the first time the Mac Herman trophy ceremony here on Friday at 8 o'clock. You can catch that right here on Roku, Missouri Athletic Club Herman Trophy. For the people who don't know at home, this is the Heisman Trophy for men and women's soccer in the NCAA. And we've actually had a chance to talk to a couple of their coaches and players throughout this year. And let's just take a look at the men's finalists real quick. On the men's side, Richie Amen, Washington. Also, if you've ever watched us cover the USL, he's part of Ballard FC this past year. 4 goals and 14 assists, I should say. Of course, a national champion as well. And Junior Juf of Grand Canyon. Also just a freshman, by the way. A true freshman, 18 goals and 6 assists for him. Donovan Phillip, also, if you have watched our USL coverage, Flint City Bucks with NC State, 19 goals and 2 assists. We talked to Richie Amen's coach and teammate Harrison Bertos and Jamie Clark, a couple weeks ago. Donovan Phillip, Mark Hubbard, we talked to his head coach a couple months ago. And then on the women's side here, we have Jasmine Akey of Stanford, 21 goals and 11 assists. They were a finalist this year for the NCAA College Cup. Jordan Dudley of Florida State, 11 goals and 14 assists. She was the national champion this year. And then Izzy Engel, a sophomore from Notre Dame, 19 goals and 6 assists. And Izzy Engel actually last year had 19 goals as a true freshman. Notre Dame didn't have the success they wanted in the College Cup, but they get there nonetheless. But if you guys are looking forward to checking that out, make sure you watch us here at 8 o'clock right here on Roku for that ceremony. I don't believe we'll be a part of it, but we'll have a ceremony for that. JT, our guy, our owner, founder, everything, set us up here with that yesterday. And Nate, you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of familiar names on there, right? I mean, I think about someone like Donovan Phillip. We've called his name a lot, and obviously playing for Flint City, we got a lot of FaceTime with that guy, and so we've seen him many times, and so it's really cool to see him up on that big stage. And obviously, NC State was in a lot of ways, I think, kind of a surprise this year. You know, they were picked middle of the pack in the conference, and they ended up having a lot of success. And obviously, you've already gotten to talk to the likes of a lot of the people over at Washington. So it's cool to see that they're getting the spotlight that they deserve, certainly. And it's going to be interesting, and it's nice going into it knowing it does have kind of a Heisman Trophy feel to it, because you really just don't know. So so that's something that I think is going to be really interesting to see, and obviously who emerges from that. And there's a lot of great choices. I don't think there's a bad choice in there. So we'll see who ends up taking it home. But man, really impressed with what Washington did with their soccer program this year. I mean, between their men's team and their women's team, I mean, just unbelievable just to see what they were able to accomplish. So really impressive.
Yeah, I was just about to touch on that. If you weren't going to get there, yeah, the women and men's programs this year for Washington were unbelievable. You think of a national champion with the men's side, and then you look at the women's side. Getting to the NCAA College Cup. I always want to say NCAA March Madness when it comes to any sort of tournament regarding college athletics, but I know I can't say that because it's soccer, not college basketball. But they've been really impressive, Washington. They've had a fantastic year, of course, having a tragic moment as well. But, both of those programs coming together as one, a university coming together as one. We've talked about Washington a lot here the last couple days regarding Damon Williams Jr. as well, but a great thing to see in terms of of college soccer and those two programs as they're really good. I believe the women's program didn't make the College Cup for a couple of years, and this was their first time, making it for a while there on the women's side. And you also got to think about Washington in that Pac-12 of having to play in the Big Ten now, and having to travel across the country because I feel like most people don't realize that the whole new college landscape also goes to every single sport. It's not just football and basketball and like that's something they also have to maneuver week in and week out now. Of having to travel across the country. Obviously, they still play the Oregons, the USC's, and the UCLA within conference, but they also have to play Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State, and that's something that I don't think a lot of people think about.
Yeah, there's a lot to consider. There's a lot to think about when it comes to this, and I think the the level of competition is it continues to get better too, and I we see that really across the board, and so especially when you talk about a lot of these players, and really what's interesting to me is we're spanning coast to coast, so we got NC State, we got Washington. I feel like we're kind of touching all the different parts of the country, um, which is really important. That's a really important thing, and so yeah, like I said, man, there are a lot of good choices in there. Hoping to get some of them here on Inside the Game, maybe get some interviews and see what we can do. But yeah, I mean, no favorites on this end of the aisle, but I think it's awesome that we're going to be able to really see that here on NSN and kind of give people a look at the best of the best in the college ranks. But yeah, the Pacific Northwest, they really got something good going for them, and I'm not. Maybe it's just now, coming to the forefront, but I think a lot of people, at least according to what we saw on social media, it's always been that way. It's never changed, and so it's just now we're starting to realize it with the success of the likes of Washington and their men's and women's programs. It's really impressive. So just continuing to do what they need to do. So no, it's really cool.
Yeah, and just to touch real quickly, they won the Big Ten tournament for the first time. That's what they ultimately did for the first time this year, winning the Big Ten here in 2025, making it all the way to the Elite Eight quarterfinals, all that fun stuff. But no, a great season for both the women's and the men's programs with Washington. And I forgot to say this. I wanted to start with this. We talked about sub sandwiches yesterday, and I did remember my lunch today, but I forgot my water. So I will have to make a run to the gas station to grab water. I don't understand. I have gotten every single thing that I wanted to, but I always forget one thing this week. Yesterday I was so focused on grabbing my water bottle and grabbing my gum, and I forgot my lunch. Today I was so focused on grabbing my lunch that I forgot my water. So it's just been our first week back for a couple weeks, and I'm still in preseason mode, I guess you could say. But no, it's been great. Also, talking about sub sandwiches yesterday, I didn't even get a chance to go to Jersey Mike's. I went to Qdoba mainly
Oh,
because there was a large blockage on 23 Mile to get to the Jersey Mike's, and I was like, Qdoba doesn't sound bad. So went to Qdoba. I will at some point get to a sub place. And regarding that, Nate, I forgot to even ask you how you been doing this morning. My apologies. I'm new to this. All
uh,
right.
been doing it. Yeah, you're good, man. No, you're doing great. No, I've been doing all right. Obviously, minus the voice thing, but no, Doba's great. I love Doba. Honestly, I mean, if you're talking about fast food options, I mean, I feel like they're probably the best outside of so not best tasting. I don't know. I mean, McDonald's is always a classic, right? But I feel like Doba actually gives you an opportunity to actually like get something healthy in your body. So that's why I kind of appreciate Qdoba for the most part. So there's a lot of good to love about Qdoba. Fortunately for the voice thing, I think I'm starting to maybe peek out the other side. We'll see what happens as we continue to progress throughout the rest of the show. But no, I it's if the Doba's your plan B, that's a pretty good plan B. That's not too bad of a plan B to go with at the end of the day. So there's a lot to like about that. But Culver's is interesting because it's great, tastes good, not good for your arteries. your arteries will hate you. Your body will hate you, actually, in fact. And I didn't realize you like the pink Red Bull there. That's
Oh, I
the
just
sugar free too.
yeah. This is when I.
That's my girl's favorite drink right there.
Oh,
That's
really?
it. Yep,
Well,
pink sugar free.
cheers to your girl.
You and
That's
you
what
and
we're doing.
her, man.
Yeah,
That's
I
good stuff.
had to fill up some gas, and I was like, you know what? Let's go grab a drink. What? Because I have Speedway rewards, so I have to go in to get it scanned and then get the points and get 11 cents off every time or whatever. And I was like, man, a pink Red Bull looks pretty good. So I went in there. That's how gas stations get you, man. Is you go in there for one thing and then you come out with more things than you intended because
Yep,
it's a gas station, and
a
that's
lot
also
more.
how they make most of their money is through their food purchases, or if they have a car maintenance place inside as well.
Well,
That's how
or a
they also.
Subway. I mean, I remember when I was in high school. I believe it was my sophomore year. We ended up going. We went out west, and there were some gas stations that we rolled up on. That, I mean, yeah, we needed gas, but the most important thing when you make those stops is to get snacks, and that's
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, I think Meyer kind of sets themselves aside a lot of times. We know about the big gas stations, like the big trucker gas stations, but I think Meyer, um, they always have the best snacks. Also, warm food, quick meals. Okay, if I just need to grab something and go, they got it. Okay, so that I think that's a really important thing about gas stations too. If you're giving me an option to just snag something and go, I'm good. That's all I need. I just need something to grab and then I'll be good to go. So, yeah, interesting. A lot of good choices. What's your order at Doba though?
Doba,
That's what I'm curious about.
chicken bowl, rice.
Bowl. All right.
Yeah, bowl. I always
Yeah.
go bowl. I
All
don't
right.
think I've ever gotten a burrito by
I'm a
Chipotle or
burrito
Qdoba.
guy.
And then mild queso because you don't have to pay extra for it like Chipotle. Fajita veggies, the tortilla chips, lettuce, cheese. That might be it. I don't know. I feel like that's it. Yeah, I think that's about it. But yeah, no, I just do that. And speaking of gas stations, I don't think I've ever gotten food from gas stations. I don't think I've never got like obviously outside of like a bag of chips or something. I don't think I've ever gotten their food like a pizza or a sandwich. I guess if Bucky's counts, I got a sandwich from Bucky's, like a brisket sandwich from Bucky's. I guess that'd be the only time.
Don't
But
get the
Bucky's
sushi.
sushi,
Don't get the sushi.
don't get the sushi.
That's all
I
I'm
don't.
saying.
I wouldn't trust gas station sushi, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think I would.
I tried it once and never again. So
Yeah,
if that gives you an image of what happened,
oof.
yeah,
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 that's a little bit of a
tough.
yikes there.
It's hard.
But anyway, thank you for
But
tuning in here today.
ta-
Anyone, whether watching us on YouTube, Roku, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of that fun stuff. Thank you for tuning in. We got a jam-packed show today. We got some Inter Miami transfer news. No, this is not Messi this time. This is actually about incoming transfers for Inter Miami. Is they've had a little bit of controversy with their MLS Cup finalists, Vancouver Whitecaps. We also have Brendan Aaronson, not on the show, which that'd be sweet, but actually making some news with 2 goals yesterday against Newcastle and comparing them against some other wingers. And then in the all sports section of things, we have talking about Miami and Ole Miss today and about how Ole Miss doesn't even have an offensive staff at all anymore. Thanks, Lane Kiffin. Um, and I don't know. I think that's about it. Maybe we got Brad Holmes to talk about with the
man, and
Lions.
yeah,
Or and
normally you have to wait. I feel like you have to wait for the postseason to get all this drama, especially when it comes to coaches leaving and coaches moving and players going all over the place. But that's the beauty of the way that the sport is aligned right now. Is we get this at the end of the year. I mean, we're not even done playing yet, and the team in question is still playing. So, you know, I always talk about Indiana going on and winning a championship, but if they were to go on and play Ole Miss in that championship game, I wouldn't know who to pull for. Be honest with you, I think Indiana would be the greatest story ever, but at the same exact time, I think Ole Miss winning it and telling Lane Kiffin to shove it would also be something that would be great to see. So, who knows, man? But I wanted to very quickly say this about the Matt Kerman Trophy. I know we kind of moved on from that conversation, but man, how nice is it to have a program like the Flint City Bucks in our own state? I mean, right down the
Yeah,
road from you guys. I mean, that's a squad that just continues to produce top end talent after top end talent. And I think Donovan Phillip is just the latest example of that. I don't know if he's going to emerge tomorrow, but I know when we were doing our previews, um, he was one guy that we really focused on that we said he could really make some noise, and he has made some noise this year. So we'll see how it all plays out. I just wanted to drop that in really quickly before we move on to our next topic. But how many players did they produce for Major League Soccer? Like
a lot.
over 100, like a lot. So amazing to see. But anyways, take it away.
Yeah, and of course, Richie Amen and Donovan Phillip played each other in the USL playoffs this year. I don't remember if Ballard won, or I think Ballard did win in the semifinals. That'd be hopefully someone in the chat could correct us, because I don't recall. I remember being a part of the game, but that's about it. But let's start off. Let's start off here with some Inter Miami news, transfer news. And they've been in the news yesterday, and actually the last couple of weeks. Made a video on Dane St. Clair, the MLS goalkeeper of the year, joining them. But this is just the Inter Miami transfer news in terms of players coming in. Dane St. Clair, as I mentioned, MLS goalkeeper of the year, actually turned down a big payday from Minnesota United, a big bump in pay from Minnesota to join Inter Miami. He's going to be the starter right away. Michael Dos Santos, the Brazilian center back, is coming in on a season-long loan all the way up until December of 2026 from Palmeiras. I don't know if I probably 100% butchered that. Sergio Reguilon on a free. And people who don't know who Sergio Reguilon is, outside of him having a hot girlfriend, he played for Tottenham, Manchester United, Spanish international all this time. He was let go this summer by Tottenham, so he's a complete free player. Fancunda Mura, also a free. He's an Argentine player. So those are just the incoming transfer news from Inter Miami. But the thing is, Nate, is they're not even done trying to add to this. We'll get to the controversy here in a little bit, but they're not even done trying to add to this. I forgot the player from Portland, but Ayala from Portland, also a player that they're trying to add in. They're also trying to add a Giovanni Lo Celso. Guess what? Both of those players are from Argentina. Shocker. I know, it's weird. And he's a player from Real Betis over in La Liga. And Nate, to me, it just feels like Inter Miami at this point is, again, it's not like this insane talent of players are coming in like the best in the world, but it certainly gives me an LA Dodgers feel in terms of that, because because of what they're doing and the amount of players and the talent of players that they're trying to bring in.
Yeah, and just how much they're separating themselves from the rest of the field in Major League Soccer, and doing it really unapologetically. And that, I mean, that really, in a lot of ways, reminds you of LA based teams, whether it be the Dodgers, whether it be the Lakers. I mean, that's kind of their MO, right? And so, when you brought up the other day, Weston McKennie potentially coming back to the US, I didn't think that was a ridiculous thing to mention, and he could potentially be going to a place like Miami. I don't think that's beyond question. I think Miami will do whatever they can to maintain this level of dominance. And the truth is that you can't rely on Messi for forever. You really can't. I mean, I think we're getting towards the end. No one can really tell when he's finally going to call it. And obviously, as someone who's been in the game for so long and has set every single record, like, he doesn't have anything to prove to anybody anymore. Like the final dances, can he go out and can he win one more World Cup? And I think that's kind of the swan song for Messi. But we've talked about Miami all year this year. This is just, they're an aging team, aging superstars. Obviously, we're still able to get it done and go out and win an MLS Cup. So that only goes so far. You still won a championship. And so for the ownership in Miami, that's the only thing that matters, right? But now it's, how do we sustain this level of success? It's one thing to have a couple of years where, hey, we bring in Messi, we have a couple of other players that really make an impact. We go out, we win a championship. That's great. but this doesn't seem like a one and done organization, right? This is an organization that wants to figure out a way to maintain that success. And the way that you do that is, again, you just continue to find some of these fringe players that are good enough to play in some of those top end leagues, but would love the payday that comes with being with a Miami based organization, especially someone like Inter Miami. I mean, they are the brand in Major League Soccer, as much as we hate to admit it, and as much as we really kind of celebrate the fact that whenever anybody's able to break through and beat them, I think about some like when Portland beat them this year. That was a big deal. Obviously, some of the other matchups they had, but this is an org that now they realize what they have. Right, Messi started it all. He got us to that point. Now we have to figure out for ourselves, what do we have to do to continue to supplement that and continue to be on this trajectory. Which we've talked about this before. When you figure out how to win, you become a destination, right? Players want to come to destinations. Stars want to come to destinations, right? They don't just want to go to any small market ever. And it doesn't really matter what amount of money you spend. It doesn't really matter what amount of money you throw their direction. A lot of times, they're just not going to want to go there. I mean, we see this with the Tigers, right? How many times have they had to go well above and beyond budget-wise to get superstars to come there and play? Because they don't want Detroit is not a destination, and it hasn't been for a while. Now is a little bit different. Now you could say, okay, this team, this organization has emerged. There's really something here because the young guys have really started to contribute to what it is that they have going on. But for the longest time, it wasn't a destination. It wasn't a place that superstars are like, hey, I want to go there. Not saying Inter Miami's getting superstars by any stretch of the imagination, but they're still getting really good players, including obviously the goalkeeper you just mentioned. But that is their focus. They just, how do you maintain that? They've learned how to do it at a high level. They won the cup. Now how do you continue doing that after?
Yeah, we have a couple comments here in the TikTok chat, both from JT, actually. He says, we have a new partner to announce, so there's a horn. We'll absolutely announce that when we can. And JT also mentioning, again, I don't even know the name of this company, but Camellia Tea. I probably butchered that. The perfect
JT, I've
sponsor.
had 3 of them this morning, my man.
He said the perfect sponsor for Nathan. I would 100% agree with that. So yeah, there's your sponsor. But I think you're right, Nate, in terms of being a destination. Like, think about this. So Jordi Alba retires, Sergio Busquets retires, and you replace both of those players again, reportedly, because it's not confirmed yet with Lo Celso. And I'm not saying that Giovanni Lo Celso and Sergio Reguilon is these world beater players. Like, they're not these insane players. This isn't chamomile tea. Is that the correct pronunciation? Okay, sweet. I don't drink a ton of tea,
That'd be it.
I'm not familiar with the tea game. So again, not right on that. But I'm not saying that these players are the best players in the world. I'm not saying they're like no one's gonna be able to stop them. But those are 2 really good replacements for 2 really good players that Inter Miami had in terms of talking about the MLS game. And again, the MLS does not have the best players in the world. We don't have the Mbappes the prime Mbappes of the world. We don't have the prime Messis of the world. We don't have the prime Xavi Iniestas of the world. So you kind of have to, what's the best available for the league? And adding those 2 players, if they can add a Lo Celso, is wonderful and will do wonders for them in terms of what's going to happen. And when you add the best goalkeeper in the league, I mean, that already adds it. And you still have a DePaul, you still have a Luis Suarez that re-signed, regardless of if people like him or not. He's still a fantastic player for the MLS level, and you still have a Messi. And the only thing that I will say then is think about the domestic players, whether that this is in Mexico or whether this is in the U.S. Of now all of a sudden you talked about a destination for just like the free agents and the senior players of the world. Think about the academy prospects, the academy players that you'll be able to bring in now. Because in America, that's where you're going to want to go if you're a young American soccer player, maybe if it's a Mexican player as well, where you can then go into Florida. And David Beckham has always been a voice for wanting to have an academy system here in the U.S. He talked about when he got to the LA Galaxy as a player and saying, we need an academy system here in the MLS because that's how that's how you grow not only players for that club but also for your national team. And he says that's how I grew, or that's how I went up the ranks with Manchester United, got to Manchester United, and then boom,
Yeah.
he was an explosion, getting to Real Madrid and all that fun stuff, and then eventually ending his career in Paris. But those young players, and we talked about, in the game as a country of growing the youth game, and that is one of the ways that you can do that. So not only a destination for the academy players, but also a destination for the senior players. And also, speaking of senior players getting to Inter Miami, there's a little bit of controversy going on right now. And of course, I saw this tweet saying that they agreed this deal with Tristan Blackman of the Vancouver Whitecaps, Defender of the Year in the MLS. Then all of a sudden, CEO and sporting director of Vancouver, Alex Schuster, had this to say about the transfer. It's about £2.5 million, by the way, of the transfer. Alex Schuster said, however, we have neither actively sought nor do we intend to seek the sale of any additional players. On the contrary, our clear objective is to keep the current group together and further strengthen it in order to compete with a strong and competitive team again next season. Therefore, we firmly reject reports suggesting that we are close to completing the transfer of any of our players. The situation is, in fact, the exact opposite. So this is something to keep an eye out for. U.S. International as well. Blackman actually was a part of that. I believe it was September or October. Whenever we played Japan, he was a part of that window. Actually started in that Japan game. But you think Defender of the Year for the Vancouver Whitecaps and potentially a move that's agreed upon, but then the CEO or the sporting director of Vancouver says, no, this isn't happening. Where do we believe on this?
Well, I would be interested to see that graphic one more time if you can put it back up on the screen. Yeah, I mean, there have been a lot of rumors circulating. Obviously, this is something that they've been talking about in circles. They want to keep continuity, and I guess I understand when I look at the way that team finished last year. It makes sense that they would want to just maintain some level of continuity or some level of consistency, and I mean that's what kind of they're mentioning in this right here. And who's to say that these conversations are not going on behind closed doors? Especially in the media world, there are leaks, and people are going to talk, and people are going to spread that information if they have any sort of inclination that something along those lines is happening. And so I think that's kind of the case here with Vancouver. I believe they are, and I believe that they still want to add more to what they have. And to be honest with you, Ryan, I don't think it would be the worst of ideas. I think it would be a great idea in order for them to continue to try to add more. But what says you?
Oh, I think for the rest of the league, I would say this is a horrible idea.
Horrible.
But
For
again,
them, it'd be great.
But again, it's it's a team trying to get better, and they know that they have the resources, they have the talent to do so. So again, Blackman isn't a horrible player either. So it's not like you're adding a bad player. You're adding one of the best, and to think about adding to that back line, that defense of the best, not only the best goalkeeper in the league that you've already added 100%, you already added a
Yeah.
solid left back in terms of the MLS standards, and then you could potentially add the best defender, best center back in the league. And on top of that, you still have Messi, you still have Suarez, and then the player that they're trying to add from Portland, about a $2 million, $3 million dollar deal actually, is David Ayala of Portland Timbers. So again, you start adding all this up, and again, it could all we've seen super teams be assembled in every sports, and it blows up, but sometimes they work. And you think, and I also feel like Messi is the type of player that doesn't talk a ton, doesn't want the spotlight a ton in his favor, which we've started to see a little bit. He's getting in the spotlight in terms of the social media around the interviews and everything, and kind of getting into his personal life a little bit. You're starting to see that a little bit, but just a little bit more on Tristan Blackman. 2 goals this year, 1 assist in 26 matches, and then you look at his defending, a winning 66% of his duels. His aerial duels is at 68%, interceptions 28, which is one of the highest in the league. So he's just about in every single category. Recoveries, dribbled past, which is only 3, which is super impressive in a whole season. Only get dribbled past 3 times. He's towards the tops of every single statistical category in terms of of the MLS in terms of all of their in terms of all of their players. But and you also think he played over 2,200 minutes as well, and still had a rating of 7.1 on terms of FOTMob. But this is a really good player, and if they're able to add him at all, you got to think Miami's going to win the MLS Cup again.
Well, and they're creating a machine. I mean, that was the other thing that I was going to mention when you were talking about, exactly what Miami has going on. They're creating a machine, and you have Messi, Busquets, all those guys. You have the academy, but then you can continue to add complementary pieces that are going to help really kind of develop these guys from the front, and that is the thing. And it really, all in my mind, Ryan, it all goes back to signing Messi. The minute they signed Messi, it really kind of got the ball rolling consistently for Miami, and now they can really build from the bottom up. And so this idea that they're not continuing to try and add is wrong. It's incorrect, and it's a smart thing for Miami to do. They have a machine now, and we also mentioned this on social media, and I said this, but you need your villain, and right now Inter Miami is that villain in Major League Soccer, and I think MLS as a whole, I think they love that. Even if it involves a little bit of tampering, even if it involves a little bit of some backdoor dealings, I think the MLS likes that because I think it creates a better product for them overall.
Yeah, I agree with you, and we could see a potential dynasty even post Messi at some point.
Oh, big time.
With it, but that is all the Inter Miami news for today. We're gonna take a step aside or a timeout, if you will, and we'll be back with more. Well, I guess we'll go all sports in the second half hour here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
All right, we are back with Inside the Game. My name is Ryan Glinsky, Nate Wengler with us. Thank you for tuning in to NSN or the National Soccer Network, wherever you're watching, whether that's YouTube, TikTok, Roku. I don't even know where else. We're probably everywhere at this point, but
At least.
At least, Nate. I don't think you're gonna make it the second hour, as you said.
Yeah, guys, I'm gonna be cutting out for hour number 2. Just gotta do a little vocal rest. This is it's hard when you work. It's not hard working in this industry. Let me take that back. It just gets hard when sometimes things like this happen. And I just got a little. I think it's something viral going on. Not really quite sure, but obviously we got games coming up this weekend. We got another show coming up tomorrow. Just want to make sure that I'm good to go for the remainder of that. And the remainder of this weekend. Don't want to cut myself or sell myself too short. So going to do a little all sports here in the second half hour, and then Ryan Glinsky will take you another half hour just by himself. So it'll be the Ryan show there for a little bit. So all on you, man. You deserve it. Take it, enjoy it. You've been doing a great job here. So this is just kind of take it as an opportunity. But yeah, it is what it is. And I'm it. Sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. So I appreciate you guys' patience and do your thing.
Yeah, so what would you like to talk about here in the remaining 25 minutes of the 9 o'clock hour?
Let's talk a little college football, man. This Ole Miss storyline continues to get more and more wild. And I know I went on my rant yesterday, and obviously it's very appreciative of you just kind of sitting back and listening to me talk. But not only is it the
It was
players who are
passionate,
leaving,
what can I say?
yeah, the entire coaching staff, as you were talking about, is pretty much going to Ole Miss, and so or LSU. And so now the question is, obviously, I think we're well beyond tampering. I think we've gotten past that. It is what it is. I think people are openly tampering now. Now it's who's going to coach Ole Miss in the semifinal game. It's one thing to lose your head coach, and Pete Golding has done an unbelievable job since taking over. And you mentioned that story of directly after that decision was made by Lane Kiffin, how Pete Golding handled that situation. And if I'm a player at Ole Miss, I mean, it's really easy to rally behind a guy like that. He stood up for us. He got in front of Lane Kiffin and said, listen, this isn't your program anymore. So get out. And so as a player, that really excites me. But now you look across the board, and there was a video yesterday that surfaced about, Lane Kiffin's talking about stealing players away from this program or that program. But now you have coaches leaving. And so it really has to be a helpless feeling if you're a player at Ole Miss, like who's going to step up to be our guy in the semifinal. So, but then again, there's another side to this too. And I certainly believe that this could really help out the Rebels. A push is a shove, and I think they feel disrespected at every angle in this playoffs after the regular season, after what they did in the SEC this year. I really feel like there's a level of disrespect that this team is feeling. And so, who's going to lead them? I don't know. I mean, maybe you have your own theories, but what's your take on this?
Real quick, I'll talk about Brendan Aaronson in the second hour. I know we teased at the beginning. We'll talk about that. Maybe Lions, Michigan football. I don't know at the second hour, but just stay with us. But we'll get to the Brendan Aaronson thing because I think it's a good conversation. And maybe Nate, if you have some opinions, we can retouch on it a little bit tomorrow. But I think my point is this football game. There's just so many sidebars. Because even if you look at the Miami side, there's sidebars as well, but it's more in a positive direction than a negative direction. So if first off, let's just look at the Ole Miss coaching staff that's not there tonight. On the offensive side, you don't have your offensive coordinator, Charlie Weiss Jr., and Nate and I were talking about this, and he asked if I knew who Charlie Weiss was, and I said no. Searched him up. Yes, I do know who he was. He was a horrible football coach for Notre Dame University. He was right there before Brian Kelly. Speaking of LSU, can I just say, I've never had an issue with LSU until Brian Kelly got there. I don't like Brian Kelly. I think the way that he leaves programs, whether that's Grand Valley, Central Michigan, Cincinnati, or Notre Dame, I think is horrible. And also what he does to his players and coaching staff, they all hate him. So I absolutely despise wherever Brian Kelly's at. And then you add in Lane Kiffin, and I don't like Lane Kiffin. You think of also Lane Kiffin. He's had some horrible ways he left college programs. You think of Tennessee, you think of USC, and now you think of Ole Miss. And how does he leave LSU? That's to be seen, but at some point he'll have to leave LSU. But then you look, so he's gone. Charlie Weiss Jr. is gone. Then you think of the running backs coach, Kevin Smith, who, if you're a Lions fan, you might remember who he is. Kevin Smith, the running back. He's gone. And you also have the tight ends coach, Joe Cox, and wide receivers coach, George McDonald. You also have your offensive line coach gone as well. So that whole offensive staff is gone. I don't know who's having coach what. And I thought this was funny during the Michigan-Texas game is that you have Max Bredesen coaching the tight ends, and he's a player. Granted, he was hurt, so there's that. And you also, which I also thought was funny as well, is right before the Texas-Michigan game, Poggi mentioned that John Jansen, who is a 97-1 The Ticket radio host, he coached the offensive line in bowl prep. Grant, yes, he's an unbelievable player playing the NFL for years, but his job is not a football coach. Yeah. He is a radio 97-1 The Ticket host and also a color commentator for the Michigan radio football team. I just find that a little bit funny.
He did win a national championship, so, I mean, I realize it was all those years ago, but,
So do we think that Eli Manning and Arch Manning might have been coaching Ole Miss this week? I mean,
it's not ridiculous to think.
Is that something that's happening?
Well, here's my thing, right? Like, we're so far down the line that X's and O's matter, but I think what matters more in this situation, Ole Miss knows how to play. They know they know what they've seen on film. They know what they run. They know what works. I heard an old coach say once upon a time, X's and O's matter to a certain extent, but when you have a group of guys who actually genuinely believe in the direction that you're taking them and genuinely believe in what you're building, you can call peanut butter and jelly 99 times. They're going to run peanut butter and jelly and they're going to score. So this is a situation for Ole Miss where, yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not going to be the same cast of characters, and I didn't know that about John Jansen. That's an interesting fact that you just brought up there, but it is obviously going to be a crutch for them, But how do you carry yourself emotionally, and does this team stay glued together the way that they are? My biggest question is this creating a rift in the locker room? Because this could very much go one of two ways, right? This could go in the way of we're bonding, we're coming together, we're really making this thing work, and we're really doing what we need to do in order to go out and win. Or it could go the complete opposite direction. You have inner fighting. You have guys who, are kind of falling apart. Even just in the semifinal, 2 games away from winning a national championship. That could very well be a reality for this Ole Miss team. So I don't necessarily, I'm not saying coaching doesn't matter, because coaching absolutely does matter. And to have the right guys in the right spots to call those plays. But there's this thing about when you just throw in someone new into that spot, sometimes it works out better. We saw that with UCLA this year when they just had to throw someone brand new in there. We've seen that with programs before where they just throw someone in. Penn State, yeah, a little bit. Yeah, you're right. But, there's multiple different examples of that. So when you're down to the point of you only got to win 2 more games, if we were in week 8 or week 9 and they were undefeated, this would be a completely different conversation. This might be it for Ole Miss. I mean, they might end up in the Pop-Tart Bowl at the end of the year despite being undefeated through 9 games. Right now, I don't know how much. I mean, I'm not. It's Mario Cristobal, guys. I mean, like I realize he's in the semifinal. I realize he beat Ohio State. Congratulations. You're still playing against Mario Cristobal. So there's a very real chance, and he nearly choked that game away against OSU. So I think that Ole Miss isn't in a good place, right? I don't want this to feel like Ole Miss, oh, it's okay, hey, no big deal. Clearly, this is a big deal. But again, this could go one of 2 ways. It could either go horrible for them, or it can go really, really well, and this team could bond. So they'll probably end up calling peanut butter and jelly 18 times anyways, so we'll see how that works out.
And back to my earlier point of the amount of sidebars here in this game. You have the offensive staff turnover right now with Ole Miss, but you also have Trinidad Chambliss, who has voiced his frustration about the NCAA, about not being granted his 6th year. My personal opinion is he's asking for an extra year of eligibility back in 2022 from Ferris State. Why would you ask for it now? Like, that was 4 years ago. Maybe you should have asked for it then. I don't know. But that's my point, is I don't know why you're asking for it now. I think it is something where he doesn't think he can be a star in the NFL. He can't get drafted in the NFL, and he's just trying to close in on his NIL package deal, which he did announce that if he were to return to college football, he will be back at Ole Miss. He won't be going to LSU. Hence the DeMond Williams Jr. situation right now. But now you look at the Miami side. Michael Irvin has been coaching with Miami this whole week, and he's not a coach. He's on NFL, CBS, or something all the time, and he's not a coach. But you have Michael Irvin. You also, and the thing is when you have Miami, when the U becomes the U, you have all of those stud Hall of Famers on the sideline with you. I wouldn't be, because Ray Lewis was at the last one. You could potentially see, I don't know, an Ed Reed on the sideline for this one. I don't know who you could quite see, but you could see that. But there's going to be so many sidebars with Miami tonight. And if I look at the game, now talking about the game a little bit more specifically here, is Ole Miss, I think, is kind of, they've rallied together as one. They have all this stuff, and rightfully so. They should. And the way that I would find it really funny if they would win the national championship just based off Lane Kiffin. Also, I don't know, would Lane Kiffin get a ring? I don't know if Lane Kiffin would get a ring in this situation if but maybe he did coach 12 games, so maybe he would. But I ultimately don't want
I would certainly hope not.
I don't want the SEC to win a national championship. That's just my persona personally. If I were to look at these 4 teams who I would personally want to win a national championship, it's Miami, just because of the 30 for 30 documentaries I watched as a teenager and wanting the U to get to that level at some point. And I would personally like the U to win it. But you also got to think this Miami defense is really good. This Miami offensive line is really good. Yes, you can say Mario Cristobal is going to Cristobal at some point, but I just think if Miami is able to keep Trinidad Chambliss in a box, and I'm talking he doesn't get out and improvise and the play breaks down, I don't see Ole Miss really winning this game. I don't. If you can keep Trinidad, because I personally don't think Trinidad is this unbelievable quarterback. I think he doesn't go through progressions really well. I think he's a one read guy based on what I saw in that Georgia game.
Yeah.
But and that defensive line by Miami gets after you. They had 5 sacks against Ohio State. And if they're able to contain Trinidad and keep him in a box, I don't see Ole Miss doing a lot. I really don't.
Well, that's the goal, right? But you have to keep them in a box, and that's a tough thing to do, right? You can't. And we talk about Ferris State, and I love how many people are learning now about Ferris State. Like, they might not have paid attention to Division II football for the longest time. They know now.
Yeah.
They know now what Tony Anise is doing. They know now about the talent that's coming out of that school. Especially someone like Trinidad Chambliss, they know it. They've seen it. They know it's real, and they only really recruit dual threat guys. They don't get quarterbacks that aren't mobile, and so that's going to start becoming a hotbed for Division I programs. But you're right, and we talked. What did we say the other day?
Transferred already.
Yeah, right.
Michigan State just got a couple.
Yep. And what did we say yesterday about pass, but on the other side for Miami, what did we say yesterday about pass rushes? It makes all the difference in the world. And if you can make the opposing quarterback uncomfortable, you automatically give yourself a chance to go out and win that football game. Now, do I think Carson Beck can dig into his bag and maybe throw for over 200 yards this time? I don't know. It's yet to be seen. And I think Ole Miss has been so good on the defensive side, it's going to be really hard for them. But if they can run the football, I think that'll help out. And everybody is predicting that Ole Miss is going to win this game. But you're right. If Miami, they need to be able to keep Trinidad Chambliss in the pocket. But for everybody else they played this year, that's been the hardest thing to do. By the way, I wanted to bring this up really quickly. Congratulations to you, by the way. You are experiencing the early 2000s, 2.0. I was about 6-7 years old when all this was happening. Hold on, I got you, right? The Pistons are back.
Oh.
The Red Wings are dominant again. The U is back. We disrupted a foreign government that happens to have a lot of oil. We're back to the early 2000s, baby. We're back. We're back. Welcome back. Yeah. So I know. Hey, what year were you born?
03.
03. All right. So, hey, when you were born, all this was going on. So now you get to experience it firsthand. 22 years later, now you get your experience of the early 2000s. So if the U's able to go out and win a championship, that'll complete, I feel like, complete everything. That'll complete the cycle.
I'll also add to this one, Arsenal was dominant in the early 2000s, and they're dominant again. They haven't won anything yet. They have a massive game against Liverpool here this afternoon, and if they win that, I believe they go 8 points clear at the top against Man City, which, real side note here with Arsenal, they finished second for 3 straight years. I've witnessed a ton of heartbreak leading up to this. If they're able to somehow win the Premier League, if they're somehow able to win the Champions League, that'd be just the icing on the cake. But no, you're right. You think about the Pistons; they're unbelievable as well. I think they're 27-9 now, or 28-9. I think after the Bulls win yesterday. The Red Wings top of their division right now. Whether that is sustainable, that's still to be seen. Lions had a letdown season, so I guess we're back in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
I guess we're there. Michigan State basketball getting back to some dominance. The only difference I would say is Michigan basketball is the only difference from the early 2000s.
True. That was like the Tommy Amaker days, I think, was early 2000s, and they were not good.
No.
They were not good.
No, they weren't. But back to the Ole Miss game. I think this is really a again. I don't know how to pronounce his first. Kawan Lacey, is that how you say his first name?
Believe so. Yep.
I think today is a Kawan Lacey game in terms of the offense for Ole Miss because I think that you think of a running back that will be able to, you could use him kind of in the screen game, the check down game, and this is an elusive back. And I'm not saying this is a Jahmyr Gibbs type of back, but I'm saying he's a Jahmyr Gibbs light version where he's able to make the first guy miss every single time. And I thought Kawan Lacey in that game, when it became backyard football, Kawan Lacey was a really good piece and a really good option out of the backfield, and especially offensively. And I think of a Miami pass rush that's going to be able to get home often and quickly on Trinidad. I think if he's able to then get the ball out to Lacey quickly and try to, and which that ultimately will open things up as well. And especially when you go to play action as well with Lacey, because he's a really good running back. He's a good running back as well as he is a receiving back. I think this is the type of game that he could have. But I ultimately think this is going to be a fun, offensive heavy game in this one. But I still we'll get to our picks here, our pick for this game here shortly, right before the 10 o'clock here. But I don't know. I think he's a really good back, and I think Ole Miss with everything that's going on, this could be an interesting one.
So odds via DraftKings Sportsbook, Miami minus 3.5 in the spread. Money line Miami minus 180. Ole Miss on the opposite side of that, the over under 52.5, which I think is fair. Yeah. I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I would if I was a betting man, which I'm not. It's just never really been my thing. But if I was, I would certainly put my money on this is going to be a really high-scoring affair. And so, I mean, I guess if we're looking for predictions, we can certainly give those. But I think that's accurate from DraftKings. And I don't know if I would hit the over. I'd probably hit the under. I think 52.5 is probably fair. Yeah, I mean, just from what I'm thinking, from what I've seen.
Someone's got to score 25-plus points. Maybe like 30 points to like 30 to 24 is what you're kind of looking at. In terms of a scoreline like that, I don't think Miami. I think it would go just under. If I'm being completely honest, I think it would go. I think it would be high teens, low 20s. That's just me though. Just based on Miami's defense alone, because Miami's defense is mean, and Miami's been in low scoring affairs already in the college football playoff. You think of their 10-3 win against A&M? Was that the final scoreline? And then even the Ohio State game was a little low scoring as well. 24-14. That's low scoring, and they had a pick six in that game. So Miami's offense can't score a ton, but at the same time, their defense holds you. Yeah. 17 points given up in both playoff combined in both playoff games. I think the defense would hold.
The other thing I'll say about Ole Miss, and I forgot to mention this a little bit earlier when we were talking about them, they've already had to navigate some really difficult defenses. Yeah, I mean, they beat Georgia. I mean, that was one of the more elite defenses in the country.
Oh, wait,
Notre Dame.
You're saying Ole Miss. My bad.
Ole Miss, yeah, not Miami, Ole Miss. They beat Georgia, which was another elite defense. So I think in a lot of ways, because of the coaching situation, they are kind of playing with house money. And so I think that will help them out a ton in the long run. And, if the only issue in my mind is that when it comes to the Canes, again, Beck he's been so bipolar this year. And that's, I think, when you talk to a lot of college football fans who kind of know who Carson Beck is, that's exactly it. I mean, you talk about someone who's trying to extend his time in college football. I think Beck is another one of those guys. Yeah. He wants to capitalize on the NIL opportunities, but I mean, my guy has just been so all over the place. I mean, he's had performances where he's just thrown 103 yards, 138 yards. Obviously, we know he hasn't thrown for over 200 in the playoffs yet. The couple of games they've had leading into this game. So I don't think anything's a sure thing for Miami on the offensive side. And not to say that just because Ole Miss was able to get past Georgia, that they're going to be able to get past the elite defense that Miami has. But all I'm saying is that they've proven it. And so they're kind of building off of that momentum going into this game. But in terms of a final score prediction, I'm going to go Ole Miss. I'm going to go 24-17. Ole Miss wins it. What says you?
I'm going to go the U because it's a Canes thing. I'm going to go Miami wins it. They're going to win it 20. I'm going to go 21-17. Miami wins it. There's going to be a defensive touchdown from Miami in this one. I'm going to go the Canes. You're going to go Ole Miss. We'll come back here tomorrow and see who's right. So it's good that we each took different teams here, and then obviously tomorrow we'll have picks for the Indiana, Oregon, and then the NFL playoffs, and then we'll come back on Monday to talk about that. But anything else you want to add, Nate, before you hit the hay here? I'm sure you're gonna go to sleep, I imagine.
No, I'm just gonna go stand in a hot shower for an hour and see if that if the magic works. But no, you talk about sidebars. I mean, that's what makes this playoffs. In my opinion, this is the greatest playoffs. At least.
Oh boy, fumble.
Is it still working?
Yeah,
we're still
you sound
here.
fine.
We got it. Ooh,
Good recovery.
all right.
Good recovery.
Fumble. Thank you. I got on top of it.
Ball.
But in terms of the 12-team format, I know we've only had it for 2 years, right? So I can only say so much. And I think it's a guarantee that it's going to expand to 14 teams. That's something. Whoa.
What's going on?
Are we there?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
All right, you got me. Goodness gracious. All right, I think it's a given that it's going to expand to 14.
Oof. Maybe
Test 1 2 1 2. You got me.
test 1 2.
All right,
Get to your point quickly.
All right. Hold on. I'm just going to hold it right here. I think it's a guarantee that we're going to expand to 14 teams at some point.
Oh, we lost it again. Yes, I agree that we'll get to 14 points at some point. Continue to talk.
But I can now. But even in the second year of this 12-team format, I think this is the best 12-team playoffs that we've seen so far. But I think because of the storylines, I think because of the hump that Oregon needs to get over to get there. Oregon can't get over that hump. They've been so good, but they can't do it. They've been to national championships. They need to find a way. Dan Lanning needs to find a way. Okay, won a lot of big games. He's never won the big one. Indiana. It's freaking Indiana. If Kurt Signetti can do this in just a couple of years at Indiana, who's to say anybody else can't do it in a couple of years, right? The excuses are gone now. There's no such thing as rebuilding. Use the transfer portal, go out and win. That's how it goes, okay? And Signetti has proven that. For Miami, for the U, you beat Ohio State, right? You did the one thing that I'm sure a lot of people thought you couldn't do, right? And you want to bring the U back. We're the most dominant football program for the longest time. So we see the U coming back. And for Ole Miss, it's the bird to Lane Kiffin. Like, they're playing with house money, man. Like, this is their opportunity to go out and tell Kiffin and the rest of that coaching staff to you know what. And I really hope they don't get rings. I truly and genuinely don't hope they don't get rings. I mean, I don't. It's like dating a girl for 5 years, proposing to her, and then a week before your wedding being like, nah, I'm out. Actually, I found a better girl over here, so I'm going to go date her instead. Like, you jackasses. I realize that there's some financial incentive to this, but Ole Miss is playing with house money. So the sidebars are great, and we're going to talk more about that coming up tomorrow in our recap, obviously, of that game, and then getting ready for Indiana and Oregon. So, again, I apologize to our listeners here today with the whole voice situation. It sucks, man. It came out of nowhere. I think there's some viral stuff going on right now, but we're going to do a little recovery today, and we'll come back stronger than ever tomorrow.
All right. Well, that'll do it for Nate Wingler in the Inside the Game. I'll be back in the second hour here talking a little bit about Brendan Aaronson, and I don't know what else. So I'll come up with something on the fly. But Nate, enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll be back with more Inside the Game. He'll be back here tomorrow, hopefully, and then we'll be back with more Inside the Game here after these messages.
Thanks, brother.
Are you ready to create unforgettable moments for your audience? NSN offers professional live streaming and full broadcast services tailored to your needs. From high-quality production to exceptional coverage, we ensure your game or event becomes a spectacle to remember. Book your next game with us today. Call 586-304-4405 to schedule your broadcast and let NSN bring the action to life like never before.
Welcome back to Inside the Game. My name is Ryan Glinsky. Thank you for tuning in wherever you're tuning in, whether that is YouTube, TikTok, Roku. I think we're on Apple TV, Samsung as well. But yeah, thank you for tuning in wherever you are. Hopefully, you're having a fantastic morning. Nate Wangler had to step aside for the day to rest his voice. He was sounding a little bit raspy, but we hope Nate a speedy recovery in terms of his voice as he's got some games later on this weekend potentially, and maybe here tonight. So it'll just be me rocking with you for the next hour or so. But yeah, I teased this back in the early part of the show in terms of Brendan Aaronson and with the U.S. men's national team yesterday. He played great again. 2 goals against Newcastle. One of them was a phenomenal goal. And then, of course, you had the goal against Manchester United over the weekend, and then he had an assist a couple games ago. So in the last 4 games, he's had 4 goal contributions. That's 3 goals to 1 assist. And Aaronson has kind of been on a player I felt like has kind of been on the outside looking in terms of making this World Cup roster, making this men's national team roster for the World Cup. And you think of some of the players, I'm going to compare a little bit of how these wingers for the men's national team are doing in their club seasons overseas. And it's also worth mentioning Aaronson in his 55 appearances with the men's national team, 9 goals, 7 assists, and he's only 25 at this point, so he's still got some time to go. He's still kind of reaching that prime in his career, and it seems that he's taking a step here in terms of the men's national team. He's taking that next step into his prime a little bit, and he's had a shaky start here with Leeds, especially this year, but he's starting to get it going. He's even said himself, Aaronson, that this is the best soccer he's played in his whole career. And let's just compare a couple of these men's national team wingers to a Brendan Aaronson. Aaronson, of course, this is just the club season this year, and this counts for all competitions this year, the 2025-2026 season. But Brendan Aaronson, 4 goals, 3 assists to his name this season, and of course, 3 of those goals coming in the last week or so with Brendan Aaronson and an assist. Tim Weah, a player that a lot of USA fans really adore. He scored a goal in the World Cup in 2022 in Qatar against Wales. That was a lone goal in that one from the men's national team. But he's currently with Marseille, 2 goals and 2 assists. Diego Luna, this is a player that has really come on and has been a fan favorite in the U.S. since making an appearance in the Gold Cup this year. In the MLS, 9 goals and 3 assists in the 2025 season, and that's kind of a player that I think Brendan Aaronson could ultimately replace and step over in terms of the men's national team. And then you look at Gio Reyna with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Yes, Reyna had an unbelievable November camp, but 0 goals, 0 assists to his name in the club scene. And then you look over to Malik Tillman, who I think is a really good player with Bayer Leverkusen, and his £35 million move this summer to Leverkusen, 3 goals and 0 assists to his name, and he's a player that I really like, and I think he'll ultimately make the men's national team. And I think out of these 5 players that you see right now, I think Weah will most likely be on the team. I think Malik Tillman will most likely be on the team as well, but it is all part of the Luna, Reyna, and Aaronson on who that becomes, who that player is. But in my prediction here, I think Brendan Aaronson absolutely makes this men's national team roster, especially for the World Cup, barring injury, of course. If he can stay healthy and continues to play the way that he is right now, he's in the best form of his life right now. And you think of the goals that he's scoring right now for against Newcastle, Manchester United, rather. These are kind of those gritty goals, those grinded out type of goals. The goal against Manchester United, he's pressing high at the pitch, grabs the goal, and puts it in the back of the net. And that is kind of something that the men's national team has lacked a little bit. And that's something that a lot of the pundits and some of the fan base has harped on the USA men's national team in recent years in terms of, not being tough, not being a gritty team, and Aaronson fits that bill. I think he could also. I don't think he's a starter, but I think he could be on the men's national team roster off the bench, being that high energy guy, and getting things done off the bench, and maybe see a game out, maybe try to nip a goal to get an equalizer, maybe grab all 3 points in the group stage. But I think Aaronson should absolutely be on this roster. Should he be over a Diego Luna? Like, if we look at a Diego Luna versus Brendan Aaronson, I think Aaronson overtakes Luna. I think Aaronson's a better player. I think Luna is a good story, and that's what a lot of the men's national team fans want to hear. I think they want to hear that feel good story with Luna because it's an incredible story for Luna. But if we're talking, but we're not talking feel good stories here in terms of the World Cup roster. We are talking about player to player, and I think Aaronson's a better player than Diego Luna. Great story, but he's not a better player, and I think Aaronson should be on the roster over a Diego Luna, and that's absolutely what I think they should do, and I think that's what they'll end up doing here. But I think Aaronson, best form of his life right now, and yeah, that's what I believe here with Brendan Aaronson, and yeah, I still got 53 minutes to kill here, and I got one of our major segments out of the way in terms of Aaronson. But if you have any comments, concerns on any platform that you're watching this on, make sure you leave a comment down below. Check the YouTube chat. Didn't see anything in there. TikTok chat, nothing in there as well. But that is where it is right now. Just seeing anything on Twitter. We actually have Aston Villa currently asking about a U20 USA winger on Real Salt Lake, Xavier Gozo. Of course, this is in part of of course, Aston Villa is a really good team, and trying to get a player from the MLS and a USA player as well is that's pretty big in terms of that, because that's where we want our players to end up. That's another conversation that we could possibly have another day. Is we need to be sending our players overseas. That's where the best soccer is being played, is overseas, and we need to do the best that we can of getting those players overseas into those environments. That not only makes our soccer team, our World Cup roster team better, our pool better, but also the game of soccer here in America a much better. Checking here on Twitter, we got any comments? No, we do not. So we'll continue to get things rolling here. But thank you for tuning in wherever you're tuning in here this morning here on a Thursday, January 8th. A massive day in terms of soccer for myself in the soccer space. I'm an Arsenal fan, and Arsenal's got Liverpool here today at 3 o'clock. And Man City dropped points yet again yesterday to Brighton, 1-1. Erling Haaland with the PK. And if Arsenal were to win this game, of course, it's at the Emirates. And if you look at the reverse fixture, Liverpool did win it 1-0 thanks to Dominic Szoboszlai. Unbelievable free kick. Put that in the top corner off the post. David Raya could not get there. But if you think about it, Arsenal, if they win here today, 8 points clear. If they do so, I think you could see them ultimately maybe run away with the league at that point if they're able to get the 3 points here today. Let's just take a quick a glance at the EPL table right now. So as of January 8th, Arsenal 20 games played, top of the table on 48. And then you look at Man City in second place, currently on 43 points. But Arsenal, of course, has that game in hand, as I mentioned before. And then you look at Aston Villa. They dropped points again yesterday. So they are 5 points behind Arsenal, too. They drew yesterday, I believe, to Nottingham Forest. I believe. But look at that. If Arsenal gets that win, that's 8 points clear. Liverpool, a little bit behind on Arsenal, 14 points behind right now. But even if they win, that's 11 points behind. But if Arsenal were to lose this game and Liverpool comes away with the 3 points at the Emirates, I think the title race is wide open, and it's anyone's game because Arsenal still only has a 5-point gap. Then if you look at if it's an 8-point gap compared to a 5-point gap, that is a big difference. Because that's a 3-game difference. City would have to ultimately, they're down 3 games if that's the case, and that's big because Arsenal has not won the Premier League since 04 and 03-04, of course, that being the Invincibles year. And then if you just continue to look around at the table, Chelsea have really fallen off. They are 17 points. 17 points behind Arsenal, who Chelsea, if you asked them a month ago, they have not won in their last 5 games. A month ago, they were within striking distance of the top of the league. And Chelsea, 17 points now behind Arsenal. They lose, or if Arsenal win today, that's 20 points. That's something that's got to be studied. Enzo Maresca, of course, sacked here just a week ago or so. Potentially could be the Manchester City manager if things don't go right with Man City and they decide to part ways with Pep Guardiola. But of course, Manchester United in 7th, they were up 2-0 yesterday and end up drawing in Darren Fletcher's first match as the caretaker of Manchester United. But let's talk about Brentford in 5th place, 33 points, of 1 point behind Liverpool. One thing to mention with the Premier League in recent years, there's been some clubs that have gotten into Champions League that you didn't really expect to see get into the Champions League. For instance, I think Aston Villa's in Europa League, but seeing teams get into Europe, I should say, that you usually don't. Nottingham Forest got into Europe. Crystal Palace is in Europe right now. They're in the Conference League. But just a ton of teams. There's a lot of teams that are starting to get their feet, I should say, in Europe. Get their feet wet a little bit in Europe, and that's ultimately really good for the league, and that's what you want to see in the Premier League is some parity in terms of the league. And you don't want to see a league dominate every single year in the league, and that's what they're doing in the Premier League. And then you even just look at there's a reason why Brentford is where they are. It's Igor Thiago, with 16 goals on the season. But real quick, before I take a break here, make sure you're following us here on social media, the National Soccer Network. National Soccer Network here on TikTok, which we've had a couple of followers hop in there today. Make sure you subscribe that button, hit the subscribe button, hit that like button on YouTube. That helps, of course, with our algorithm and stuff like that. Even the comments help with our algorithm as well. Instagram, National Soccer TV, Twitter, National Soccer Network. Make sure you're following us on socials because what's happening this summer? The World Cup is happening this summer, and that's what we want to see, and we're gonna have coverage about pretty much everything, especially every U.S. men's national team game, up from the first game all the way to the World Cup final. I don't believe the U.S. will be in the World Cup final, but we'll have that everywhere we go. But I'm gonna step aside here for a quick moment. We'll be back, be able to talk about just about anything at this point. We still got 45 minutes to go here. 45 minutes down, 45 minutes to go as you are watching the Inside the Game here on the National Soccer Network.
The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins MLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com. Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins MLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com. The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins MLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back to Inside the Game. My name is Ryan Glinsky. Thank you for tuning in. And if you're just tuning in for the first time, Nate Wengler, of course, started the show with us here today, but he had to step out a little bit for his voice to heal, and hopefully he is doing a little bit better, and he'll be back here tomorrow, hopefully better, and to talk about anything sports with you and soccer here tomorrow. And of course, got to recap that Ole Miss Miami game, but pivoting a little bit from the game of soccer to American soccer, as Brad Holmes, the Detroit Lions GM today, will speak to the press here today in Detroit to talk about the season. And of course, Dan Campbell talked about he'd give himself an F, and if I'm Brad, give yourself an F as well. And if there's one thing that I would like to see Brad Holmes say in terms of his press conference today with the media, is to simply say, I was wrong. That's all you got to say, Brad. Say you were wrong. Say we weren't good, because we weren't. This was a football team that a year ago that was 15-2, the number 1 seed in the NFL, and you didn't do anything this offseason. Sure, you added DJ Reed. You did that over instead of Carlton Davis, but you didn't address any needs. You lost 2 all-pro offensive linemen. Zeitler, sure, you replaced him with a rookie and Tate Rowledge. It's fine. But you didn't do anything to try to, because this couldn't have been the first time Ragnow didn't. This retirement didn't come out of the blue. It came out of the blue to the fans, I'll tell you that, but it didn't come out of the blue to the fan base, or not to the front office, I should say. It wasn't that. The arrogance, I should say, of Brad Holmes, and I think the Lions, is it should be talked about a little bit. I think that Brad thinks he's smartest guy in the room. That's what I ultimately think. And trading three third round picks, for Isaac Tesla, a guy that you really didn't use all year, draft him in the third round in your Super Bowl window. That just smells like you're the smartest guy in the room. Drafting a Giovanni Manu out of nowhere in Canada, that doesn't move the needle. You can't be making these moves. You can absolutely question Brad Holmes drafting since the JMO or the Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell draft. That also included Brian Branch, Sam Laporta. After that, you can question anything with Brad. Terrion Arnold, he's been hurt for a while, but simply Brad, come to the podium, pull a Bradley Cooper and Allen pull a Bradley Cooper and Allen in, not Allen. What was his name in The Hangover? What was Bradley Cooper's character in The Hangover? Allen, because Allen was the other guy. Phil. Pull a Phil in The Hangover and say, we effed up. We effed up bad. What you got to do, Brad? Say we weren't good. You didn't sign a DN opposite of Hayden Hutchinson. You didn't do that. And it showed because that front seven couldn't stop a soul. They let Kenneth Gainwell and the Steelers run for 200-plus yards. The Steelers, an offense that doesn't operate at a high level, you allowed that to happen. That was horrible, Brad. You didn't address the offensive line needs and the concerns. You knew that Ragnow was probably contemplating retirement, but the year before the magical 2024 season when they went 15-2, you probably knew that offseason Ragnow was like, this could be the last year. So in that draft, in that free agency, you should have probably drafted another guard/center, but instead you drafted Isaac Tesla. And everyone thought, he's not going to re-sign JMO, but you re-signed JMO. That doesn't make any sense. And then you look at your safeties here in Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch. Brian Branch ain't starting the year next year. He blew out his Achilles. Kirby might not be the same. But Brad, simply just coming to apologize to the Lion fan base and say what you did wrong. You didn't address the needs. You tried to be smartest guy in the room. I'm not in the business of drafting projects at this point if I'm Brad. I'm not trying to draft an Isaac Tesla anymore. I'm not trying to draft a Giovanni Manu anymore. Christian Mahogany, sure, that worked for the 6th round. I mean, he's not this great guard, but he's better value than what you would get at 6th round. He's better value than what you got for Giovanni Manu. I mean, I think we can all agree on that. But anything that he thought, if he comes out and said, we were close, we're a lot closer than people think. Have you looked at the Eagles? Have you looked at the Rams? Have you looked at the Seahawks? Because the NFC West is up here. The NFC North is here. The top 3 teams in the NFC West have all beaten the NFC North teams, I believe. Who did the Packers? The Packers played the Packers probably won that one. But no, I think the West is so much better. Yeah, 26-0 back on November 30th. So yeah, no, Seattle is miles above. You think of anything else, they're just miles above the NFC North, and I think the champion ultimately comes out of the NFC West. The Super Bowl champion comes out of the NFC West. But no, simply just apologize, Brad. That's simply all you have to do here at the podium. And I also want to hear some stuff about, is what are we going to do about that offensive line? Like, simply, what are we doing with the offensive line? Are we going to first off with the offensive line, that's got to be the most important thing because Goff is a solid quarterback. For the Lions fans that think Jared Goff should be gone and traded, cut, whatever, you're insane. Go get your brain checked because Jared Goff is a solid quarterback for the Lions. And he's arguably the best quarterback this franchise has ever seen. He's thrown for 4,000 yards every single year besides the first year where they went 3-13-1, 30 touchdowns last year, I think 33. And then I think the year before that was 30. And I think this year might have been 25, I think. No, he's still, jeez. Even so in the year where Jared Goff sucked and an offensive line that couldn't protect him, 4,500 yards passing, 34 touchdowns, 8 picks. That's 4 less than last year, which, to be honest, almost half of them came in the Texans game. But no, 34 touchdowns, 4,500 passing yards. Jared Goff's absolutely your guy. But the thing is you have to protect Goff. Goff is not going to be this improvising quarterback. He's not going to do that. But the thing is you've got to give him an offense line, and you have to give him a run game. If you can give Goff a run game, that opens up everything in terms of the play action pass. That absolutely opens up everything. And when you run play action pass this year, no teams were biting on it because they knew you couldn't run the football between the tackles. Jahmyr Gibbs was a magic man. Whenever Jahmyr Gibbs had an amazing play, it was because he made some magic happen. David Montgomery couldn't run in between the tackles. And that's another thing. So back to the offensive line here real quick. The offensive line. I think Decker's gone. That's not some crazy take, but I think Decker's gone. That's $14 million in cap space that you can then clear up. I think you draft a left tackle, whether that's Caden Proctor, the kid out of Utah, or the kid out of Miami. I think you have to somehow draft one of those 3. Hopefully, one of them is there at 17. I hope, because you get one of them, one of your tackle slots is then filled. Then from there, does Glasgow retire is another question. If not, you have to draft a center, or I shouldn't say draft a center. You have to sign a center in free agency. I don't know who that is, but you have to draft or sign a guard or center in free agency because Glasgow's already mentioned he is not a center. And sure, he's not a center. He doesn't like playing center. He likes playing guard, which then if you're able to sign yourself a center, you can then move around. You have some depth then at the offensive guard position because you have Tate Ratledge at right, you had Mahogany at left, and Awosika's in there too. He could be a backup that, he sucked anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But you take those guards, and you have 3 solid ones, 3 starting NFL guards, really, because they all 3 have started a handful of games in the NFL. Hopefully Ratledge takes that step up, and Sewell, you still have him. But draft, and you have to sign one in free agency. Hopefully that's a center you sign in free agency and you draft a tackle. Because if I'm looking at it, for the offensive line perspective, we're just going to keep Sewell at right tackle for this exercise. Left tackle has got to be a rookie you draft in the first round or the second round, preferably in the first. Left guard will go Graham Glasgow. Center via free agency. I don't know how you do it. Maybe you trade either, but you get one in free agency or a trade. Right guard will go back to Tate Ratledge. It's going to be a second year. Hopefully he takes a step up. Maybe a Christian Mahogany's in that role. Maybe you swap Mahogany with Glasgow. Right tackle Sewell. That has to be an offensive line for next year because what you rolled out this year cannot happen again. It just simply can't. Let's look at the defensive side of the football. The trenches needs to be retooled a little bit. Hutch, you paid him. He's not a Myles Garrett. Obviously, he's not a Max Crosby. He's not that type of edge rusher, but he's a solid edge rusher. And he will open things up for other players on the defensive line to eat. Look at AQM. I think you have to re-sign Roy Lopez based on the production that you were getting out of Nalim McNeil. McNeil, I don't know what he was doing since he got back. He did nothing. You go Hutch. You go Roy Williams up the middle. Ty Leak up the middle as well. McNeil has to be up the middle because of his contract. It's massive. You can't get rid of him at this point. And the opposite edge, I think, is a draft pick in the second round. That's what I think personally. And you can flip-flop the first and second rounders, whether that's an edge, whether that's a tackle. That's up for you to decide. But that first rounder and that second rounder must, and I mean must, be a trench player. And then maybe you sign one in free agency again because you could be getting some cap cleared up as well. I don't think Anzalone comes back this year. I don't. I thought he kind of sucked in coverage anyways in terms of that. But and then I have another question in terms of the draft because he declared yesterday. And looking at the safety position now. If you're the Lions, Caleb Downs is sitting at 17. Do you take him? Because think about it. Kirby Joseph might not be the same. Brian Branch is not starting the year. He's not starting the year off with the Lions. He'll be back at some point, but he won't be in the first month. Do you think about a Caleb Downs? I'm just saying, I know what I said. I would rather it be a trench player. But do you take a Caleb Downs in that spot knowing what you don't have and how the year ended where you had a legion of whom? You had a legion of whom for the better half of the second half of the season. And we don't want that again. You could sign a safety. You could sign a corner, whatever it is. But if a Caleb Downs, because I think he's a special player. I think Caleb Downs is going to be really good in the NFL. I thought he was really good at Ohio State and Alabama. Do you draft a Caleb Downs if he's there at 17? Because I think that's interesting. I really find that interesting with Caleb Downs, and I think he's a good player. But I still think you go the trench route. But does Caleb Downs make you kind of go, kind of turn some heads with that one, and at least make you think? Because I think you do got to think about it a little bit. But I think Caleb Downs is a good player, and we'll have to wait to see about that. But that's what I wanted to see from Brad today. Just apologize. Just admit that we weren't good. We're good at the beginning of the season, but we really weren't good. And that Packers game at the beginning of the season, which I didn't want to believe, was how that Lions team actually looked, and that's 100% how it looked. And we'll have to wait and see what they do in the offseason. But this is probably, arguably, the biggest offseason in Lions franchise history, at least since I've been around and since I've watched, because the last couple of years, you're building it. It's 3-13-1 to 9-7 to 15 or to 12-5, and then getting to the NFC Championship game, choking in the second half, then to 15-2, winning the division again, and you lose in the divisional your first game to the Commanders, and then you take that massive step back to 9-8. Yeah, you finish above 500, but what's the point? You finish 9-8, but sure, you could say, oh, there's heart and grit on the line. But you know what? You did that against the Packers how many years ago? You eliminated them, going 9-7, I believe. I think that was still 16 games. That was your culture win. That was the, oh boy, the 2023 season's going to be exciting. And it was. And it was an exciting season. You won the division for the first time in years. You won 2 playoff games in how long? It was an exciting season. But I'm not in the business of 8-9, 9-8, 10-7 seasons anymore. Get into the playoffs, and also, you got to make noise in the playoffs. You can't just go out there, lose a game, or just win one game, lose a game. You've got to go in there and make some noise. If you're the number 1 seed, you win a game and you lose the NFC Championship, I guess it's not fine, but I guess it's better than nothing. But you've got to go in there and make some noise. 100% you got to go in there and make some noise. The Lions, it's got to be a lot better. I want and in this draft, I want no projects. You can't draft a project in this draft. You have to draft NFL-ready guys in this whole draft. I don't care if you got to give up, some picks from in the future, whether that's a year or two down the line. And I'm not saying you throw the whole draft, the war chest out, and I'm not saying you give up all these multiple firsts, multiple seconds, or multiple firsts and seconds. You could throw in. You've already thrown in 3 third-rounders to get Tesla, so you might as well. Then at that point, I'm fine with trading a couple thirds to move up to get back into the third round this year. Maybe you move into the second round. Maybe you move into the first round again this year. But you have got to draft. And I'm not drafting people from Canada that don't play football. I should say Manu did play football, but where is he from, Manu? It's Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, Canada. I don't even know where that is. He went to the University of British Columbia. Yeah, I'm not doing that anymore, Brad. I'm not doing that. And also, don't bring back Pascal. Don't bring back Davenport. There's no point of having them. No, they're just hurt the whole time, and you're just taking up a roster spot at that point. But that's what I want to hear from Brad Holmes today. He speaks with the media at some point during the day during a press conference. Let's see what time it is for the people at home. For today, he'll speak at 4 o'clock Eastern time today. I'm sure that'll be broadcasted on some YouTube streaming platform or Twitter, something like that. But that's where you can check Brad Holmes. He better give himself an F as well in terms of a grade because that was a horrible season. Absolute horrible season. But we'll have to see what the Lions do here in the offseason. Again, biggest offseason in franchise history, I would say, because you need to get back. You get back into being in the mix of contending. The Bears are going to get better. The Packers are going to get better. and the Vikings are going to get better. And you got a division, and you're not even the best division in the NFC. The West is better. They're miles above you. But, yeah, that's what I would like to hear. Again, if you have any thoughts on that, make sure you head into the TikTok chats, the YouTube chats. If there's any questions from anybody, any comments, please get it out there. But, yeah, that's what we need to hear from Brad Holmes here today. We're going to step aside one last time. We'll talk about some Michigan football, some transfer portal news that's been coming out, some visits, some guys that they've been retaining. But we'll be back with more Inside the Game right after this.
The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com. The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com. The Flint City Bucks are Michigan's top soccer franchise with 4 national championships, 9 conference titles, and 15 Great Lakes Division titles. They have produced 107 players for Major League Soccer, and they focus on attracting top talent and shaping soccer's future. Michigan Bucks Academy joins NLS Next new competition tier starting in September of 2025. This offers elevated levels of play and flexibility for high school participation. The Academy will provide premier development, high-performance training, and exposure to scouts through regional tournaments and MLS Next events. For more information on tryouts, training programs, and key updates as we prepare for our first season in MLS Next new tier, visit MichiganBucksAcademy.com.
Welcome back to Inside the Game. My name is Ryan Glinsky, and if you're just joining us here today, Nate Wangler started the show with us, but he's having a little bit of voice issues, so he stepped out right before the 10 o'clock hour. So it is just me rocking and rolling with you for the next 19 minutes or so. So anyway, some news right now in the NFL. Mike McDaniel just got fired from the Dolphins, so that's a little bit interesting. Lions fans, if you're out there, Mike McDaniel to the Lions OC. That'd be interesting. We'd have to wait and see on that one. But just looking at the line, or let's talk some college football here again. But also Michigan football. They're making some moves in the transfer portal, but not quite the moves people would like. But anyway, you still solidify one of the three phases of football, and that's special teams. Michigan has landed 3 commitments in the transfer portal cycle so far. Pitt kicker Trey Butkowski, UNFL punter Cam Brown, and Pitt long snapper Nico Crawford. So Kerry Combs doing a good job over there so far. Also some news for Arsenal right now. If you're Arsenal fans out there, Arsenal are entering the race for Mark Gahey. However, City are still the favorites to sign him this month. It'll be seen whether or not Arsenal or City, really send in a bid to Crystal Palace or not. But we'll have to wait and see. But again, looking at Michigan so far, they've retained a handful of players that, some people didn't think that they were going to retain. So they retained Bryce Underwood. Obviously, that's first and foremost. I think Underwood this year is going to be much better. He's going to be a much better quarterback. I think you actually have a coaching staff that cares and a coaching staff that won't be DMing only fan models during halftimes or before games and actually critique Bryce and actually tell him what needs to be fixed so he can not only be a better quarterback for himself, but for the Michigan football team in 2025 or 2026, excuse me. I think that's one thing. And then you think of the other retained players, the offensive line. It's the most important position in football outside of a quarterback. They retained Blake Frazier, the redshirt sophomore, Andrew Babaloa, their former 5-star offensive tackle who blew out his knee in fall camp this year, and he'll be back and actually going to play this year, hopefully, barring injury, of course. Jake Guinera, their best offensive lineman from a year ago, who actually hit the portal, comes back, and he'll be back with Michigan. Of course, that offensive line lost Greg Crippen and Giovanni El Hadi to the portal, but they also retained Andrew Sprague, who they thought was going to go to Texas. Everyone thought he was going to Texas, but he enters the portal, comes back. Zeke Berry, a cornerback that hit the portal, comes back, so he's back in the maize and blue. And then Jordan Marshall last night comes back for the Michigan Wolverines, and that's one of your running backs. And now if you're Michigan, Justice Haynes, what does he decide to do? I don't know what Justice Haynes decides to do if you're Michigan, because does he go back to the NFL? I don't know if he has enough film on him. He's been hurt every single year. I think he only played 8 games this year, I think, for Michigan. 7 or 8 games, I believe. Still 850 yards, I think 10 touchdowns for Justice Haynes. I mean, he's a really good back. He just needs to stay healthy. I don't know if the film is necessarily on him. Maybe he didn't like the way that his junior season ended. But that's a player that you got to look out for, whether he goes to the NFL, maybe he stays in college, goes the portal route, maybe he stays with Michigan. Again, we'll just have to wait and see on that. Andrew Marsh, it's reported that he's going to be staying with Michigan, but there's nothing that has materialized in terms of being a confirmation that he's coming back to Michigan. Then Jair Hill is another one that you're looking for if you're able to retain. But I think Kyle Whittingham, who I think he's a fine coach. I think he's going to do a much better job than Sharon Moore ever would at Michigan. Is he going to get Michigan to that national championship level? The talent's there. I mean, the talent is there to win a national champion. I'm not saying this year, but the talent and the resources is going to be there to win a national championship at some point during, I think he's going to be there 3 or 4 years. I think the talent's there, but is he going to get the coaching part? I mean, he's under 400 in terms of against the top 25 teams all time, and when he was coaching at Utah, so that's a little bit worrisome. He's only won a couple of Pac-12 championships, but again, you could argue that it's just Utah. They don't have the best resources in the world, which you can absolutely argue. But that's still a little bit worrisome if I'm a Michigan fan. But I think that they've done a good job in terms of, first off, that staff. That staff is really good. You think of Jason Beck and Jay Harding as their coordinators, offense and defensive. Jason Beck had one of the best turnarounds, I think, in college football history in terms of the offense, what he did with Dampier coming over from New Mexico. Jay Hill has ran some really good defenses at BYU. I would have liked him to somehow bring a couple guys from BYU to Michigan, but that doesn't seem to be the case. But you look at the Utah side of things, and J.J. Buchanan, the tight end. Michigan is most likely going to be in need of another tight end. J.J. Buchanan just hit the portal yesterday. He's a true freshman, one of the best tight ends in the country last season. You think of John Henry Daly, the defensive end, 11.5 sacks coming off a knee injury. In Michigan, so right now I would say Michigan. They lost Cole Sullivan. That's one player that they lost. But you look at Michigan, and there is a lot of defensive line help that they need. You think of the D-line right now, I think it's Trey Pierce, Nate Marshall, and the incoming freshman at this point. It's thin, man. It's thin at the defensive line. And can you go get a Nate, or can you go get a Henry Daly? There's another D tackle that just hit the portal for Utah yesterday. And then you look at the cornerback position. Smith Snowden has entered the portal. He's also visiting Michigan as well. So there's that. But the defensive line and the wide receivers, I think you need. Michigan's also in the mix for Quincy Porter Jr., a 5-star wide receiver that almost went to Michigan, goes to Ohio State, and he also almost went to Penn State. And the wide receiver coach from Penn State, Ashton Hagans, I believe is his name, he is now at Michigan, and he is now the wide receiver coach at Michigan. And does that mean Quincy Porter comes over and wants to reunite with Ashton Hagans? Maybe he wants to stick it to Ohio State again because he wasn't used a ton at Ohio State. I mean, you did have Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith taking up a majority of those reps. But if you're Michigan, I think they're good at the linebacker position, regardless losing Cole Sullivan. I think they're in a really good spot there. But you kind of look at this Michigan team, and the offensive line, I think, is pretty set in stone right now. The quarterback, one of the quarterbacks is set. I still think you need to bring in some competition for Bryce, for the love of God. He's not that great of a quarterback, but you need to bring in some competition. And then you think, let's see, running backs I think are fine right now in terms of Hyder and Marshall. But I think since you lost Cusdahl and you lost Jasper Parker, Justice Haynes needs to come back because I think you need a three-headed beast if you're Michigan and running the football. So hopefully he comes back, Justice Haynes, because if you get that, I think your running back room is set. Your quarterback could be set. Your offensive line is set. The safeties, I think, are in a good spot. I think so. You still have Mason Curtis. Rod Moore, I think, should be back. I think for the safeties, you're in a pretty good spot. Corners, not. I mean, yeah, Jaden Sanders. Shamari Earls is still there. Zeke Berry came back, obviously. Jair could maybe get Smith Snowden. I think you're good there, but I think you're just thin right now in defensive line and wide receiver, and that's where you need to be focusing everything until you got 8 days. Michigan's got 8 days until the transfer portal window closes. I mean, maybe they try to get someone from the national championship teams because, of course, that window is extended to transfer portal teams in the national championship by, I think, 5 days or maybe a week. But no, I think you got to be focusing everything on that defensive line and that wide receiving core right now. I think if you're Michigan, I think what you're doing right now, retain Justice Haynes today, announce Andrew Marsh today, and then you got to go get a defensive line and you got to get another one or two wide receivers because McCulley's gone. You don't have a tight end threat right now. If you get J.J. Buchanan, I think that really opens things up in terms of the tight end room. I think Zach Marshall's a pretty good tight end, a good depth tight end, a good backup tight end, I would say. I think he's a good second. I don't think he's a first. You have Deacon Tonelli is there, still there as well. But I think that's kind of the move. It's the D-line and wide receivers, excuse me. But if you're looking at it from a Michigan perspective, enter what about a month ago looked like when Sharon Moore got fired and what it is now, I think you're in a really good spot, a much better spot than it was a year ago or a month ago. I think it was really good because Wink sucked. Wink Martindale was awful. The offense looked awful. The offensive line sucked. Bryce, horrible. And now you bring in a whole new staff that is such an upgrade over the old one. Like, it's night and day with these ones. You retain some important ones. I would have liked Lamar Morgan to stay with Michigan, the cornerback safety coach. I would have liked that. But you're adding some former defensive coordinators to the staff as well as position coaches and assistant defensive coaches. You still keep Lou Esposito. You still keep Tony Alford. And Kerry Combs is a good addition that was retained by Sharon Moore in the special teams. I think that's a good hire based on what we saw in the bowl game. But if you're Michigan today, I need to see a couple things. 1, Andrew Marsh announced. 2, Justice Haynes announced. I guess Jair Hill maybe. But you need to land a transfer portal get. That's maybe John Henry Daly. Maybe that's Smith Snowden. Maybe that's the Elon freshman quarterback that's currently visiting. And or J.J. Buchanan. That's what I need. I need some D-line help right now if I'm Michigan. That's truly what I'm looking at here. If you have a question of the day suggestion, go ahead, put it in the chat. At all, it'll just be me answering the question here for the final 8 minutes. I don't see anything in these chats. So again, thank you to anyone that is decided to tune in here this morning here on January 8th, Thursday. But real quick before we get to question of the day, Bryce Underwood, you gotta have a much better year, man. It's got to be a lot better. And I understand the coaching failed you a little bit. I understand that. And I don't think Sharon Moore helped you a lot at all. I don't think Chip Lindsey helps you a lot. But it's got to be a lot better. You looked bad in terms of the mechanics. I think for a while there, you could have argued, oh, it's the offense. They just wanted to run the football. I get that. I do. They didn't want to open up things. But then when you get to the Texas game and in the game that we're going to let it loose for Bryce, it looked bad. His mechanics looked bad. He looked fine for a quarter and a half. Sure, but I don't know if that, because it got chippy there in the third quarter. I don't know if that played a factor, but his mechanics looked off. He's thrown off his back foot a lot. He looked uncomfortable when he wasn't uncomfortable. It didn't look good. I thought I expected a little bit more out of Bryce, especially with that money. And I'm sorry for the people that have to say, oh, he's just a true freshman. He's 18. Dude, when you're making $3 million plus as an 18-year-old, there's a little bit of expectations. And to the college athletes that constantly, like I've heard it a couple times, to the college athletes that are, I don't understand why there's so much hate on us because we're making this amount of money. The more money you make, go to the pros. Aleem McNeil, for instance, making $20 million a year, not performing. There's going to be questions asked of you because you are making so much more money than the other players on the team. There's a little bit of expectation for you guys. Coleman Hawkins was another one. I don't understand. I'm making $2 million. Why are people upset with me? Because you're making $2 million, Coleman. That's why. Bryce, you're making $3 million. Play better. And by the way, Sorsby from Cincinnati to, I believe it's, where'd Sorsby at? Texas Tech. $5 million for Brendan Sorsby? What are we doing? It's just bad. But there's expectations when you're making an amount of money. And Bryce, you're making so much money. There's expectations. I don't care how old you are. You are making more money than the seniors. You're making more money than sophomores. You're making more money than juniors. You're making more money than everyone. You might be making more money than some assistant coaches. You've got to go out there and perform, Bryce. It's got to be better. And I think he will. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt this time because of the coaching staff. I will 100% do that because I think Coy Detmer Jr., good quarterback coach. I think Jason Beck, great offensive coordinator. I think Jim Harding will have that offensive line going. I think they'll get Bryce Underwood going. But what I saw this year can't happen again. If it happens again, see ya. You don't get your money. See ya. I'd rather go get a transfer portal quarterback at that point or someone else in the recruiting class because that's not going to cut it. 9 touchdowns in the regular season. Again, the whole offense thing, but no. You've got to be better. Question of the day. I'm still coming up with it. In my head here. But let's go. Question of the day. All right, we'll do this. again, thank you for anyone that's been sticking around here today, whether it's on Roku, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, anything. Appreciate you guys for stopping on here this morning. It's been a lot of fun. But again, I would like to engage a little bit more. Obviously with another host, with the chat. You guys bring up some questions because at some point I like to get my points across, but I'd also like to have a little bit of a debate with it as well. In terms of that. But no, it's been fun here today. Talked about some really good stuff. But let's get into Salt Athletic question of the day. Of course, Salt Athletic, an official sponsor of us here at the National Soccer Network. Use promo code NSN15 to save 15% off of that #1 smell-proof cleat bag that 100% works. Tested it myself. Scan that QR code on your screen or visit saltathletic.com today. But let's go back to the soccer route. Question of the day: a surprise U.S. men's national team World Cup roster spot. So who is someone that could sneak in that most people don't really see coming in? I'm gonna go with Noah Kai Banks. I don't know if that's a surprise at this spot, but I think he might start for the U.S. men's national team in the World Cup. I think he's been really good for Augsburg. He's played in a ton of matches. He's gotten a ton of minutes under his belt. I know he was in the Japan game. I think he started the Japan game, I believe. I think Noah Kai Banks did. But again, a young player that has played really well in 12 games this year. He's played about 90 minutes almost every single game, too. That's impressive. But no, I think he's been a really good player. I think he's only 19, too, by the way, guys. This is a player for the future for sure. Hopefully he continues to develop. No injuries, no injuries. But no, this kid has been absolutely a stud for FC Augsburg. But yeah, curious what you guys have to think. But again, make sure you're following us here on socials. Tomorrow, of course, let's throw this up one more time before we head out. The Mac Herman Trophy, the Heisman Trophy Award for men and women's soccer. That's where it is right there. You can catch that right here on Roku on NSN here at 8 o'clock tomorrow. It's going to be, again, myself, JT, Nate, we won't be a part of it, but the crew, the Missouri Athletic Club, will be putting it on. But we'll have it on our platform, which is awesome, and it's great to see. It'll be first time televised, I believe, anywhere really. But no, that's great to see. We might get a couple of those players, those finalists, on our Inside the Game next week at some point, whether that's live or pre-recorded. That's still to be seen, but something to look forward to in terms of next week and some really good content. But again, make sure you're following us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. Thank you to anyone tuning in today. My name's been Ryan Glinsky. Thank you for hanging out with me here this morning between 9 and 11. We'll see you here tomorrow. Nate and I will be back. Hopefully we can see Nate back tomorrow. Hopefully his voice is all right. But again, until next time, see ya!
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.